Or I'll put together a pilot program. I can't do it. Just a pilot proposal. Cascading. Okay. No matter how well we plan, things will inevitably go wrong. We have spent the last 3 episodes talking about how to lead without authority, how to move projects forward, how to lead people who don't report into us, and how to manage up, down, and across the organization. So, in today's episode, we're going to chat about the realities and what to do when things do go wrong. Maybe you had a super supportive stakeholder that turned around and changed their minds. Or you had a budget cut halfway through your initiative. Maybe your project gets deprioritized and you're left scrambling to figure out what is the minimum viable option here. And these are the moments that separate learning and development leaders from those who do get stuck in that order taker cycle. Because leadership in our field isn't about driving initiatives or delivering that training program. It's about navigating the tough stuff with confidence. So today we're going to speak about what to do when things don't go according to plan, how to manage those difficult stakeholders and resistance to your work, the resilience mindset that will keep you proactive instead of reactive, and how to turn challenges into opportunities that will actually increase your credibility. This is leadership in action. And part one that we're going to start with is the realities of learning and development leadership and what to do when things don't go according to plan. If you have been in learning and development for more than 5 minutes, you will know that it is unpredictable. One day you're designing leadership training, and the next you're trying to convince people that L&D isn't just about compliance training. And the next day your entire work is put on hold because the business has other priorities. So no matter how good your strategy, there will always be these external factors that sort of throw you off track. Budget cuts, leadership changes, business goals. And if you don't get stuck in the frustration of this, because it is frustrating, but if you can adapt and be agile and respond to the business changes, you will absolutely stand out. And here's what happens to most people when they get off track. The first thing is they react emotionally. They're frustrated, stressed, defensive, and I am literally talking from experience here. They scramble, so they try to figure everything out at once and get overwhelmed and move from pillar to post. Or they shut down thinking, well, nothing really matters anyway. But real leadership is about responding, not reacting. Let me say that again. Leadership is about responding, not reacting. It's about looking at a challenge and asking yourself, what's possible here? How do we keep moving forward? And in L&D, challenges are not obstacles. They're actually proof of how important our work is. If learning was easy to integrate, it wouldn't be a leadership challenge, but it is. And that's why leading through these challenges is a skill set in itself. Okay, part one, we covered our reality, the reality of leadership within learning and development. Part two, we're going to go through 3 specific mindsets that will help you navigate under pressure. When we are faced with obstacles, most L&D people go straight into solution solving mode. I've certainly been there. Can you relate to this at all? But before you jump into action, we need to make sure that we have the right mindset, because how you think about the challenge is how you will handle it. So here are the 3 mindsets we're going to go through. 1 will be the business first mindset. Number 2 will be own the solution mindset. And number 3 will be the strategic patience mindset. Let's get into each of these now. Okay, so what is the business first mindset? Budget cuts, stakeholder resistance, leadership isn't engaging with learning and development. These are very common frustrations. But let's face it, Executives do not wake up thinking of learning and development. They wake up thinking about business goals and business success. So if you are framing learning as it's nice for people's development, but the CEO is thinking of cost cutting, your priorities won't align. Instead, ask, how does this challenge connect to the business goals? If a program gets cut, how does that impact performance, production, efficiency, and revenue? If managers won't give their people time to attend the learning, how is that impacting their team's performance? And if leadership won't approve your initiative, how does that decision impact business goals? So the mindset shift from seeing challenges as roadblocks to seeing them as opportunities will really differentiate you and position yourself as that learning and development leader in a way that your business partners actually care. Mindset 2 is the own the solution mindset. When things go wrong, it is easy to blame external factors. Well, the budget was cut. Well, it didn't align with the goals. Well, this leader doesn't see the value of learning. But real leaders take ownership, even when it's not technically their fault. And it doesn't mean taking responsibility for everything. It means taking control of what you can influence. Instead of saying something like, finance won't approve the budget, say, what's another way of getting funding? Or what's the minimal viable version of this product that we can launch as a pilot? Or how can we show the ROI in a way that changes their minds? Instead of saying managers won't engage, ask, how can I make it easier for them to integrate learning? Or who is already supporting this and how can I leverage them? Or what messaging would really resonate with their particular challenge? L&D leaders who truly thrive are the ones that see challenges as problems to solve and not problems to just endure. Now for mindset 3, the strategic patience mindset. And what on earth is this? This is the realization that not every battle is worth fighting for. And some leaders just won't see the value yet. And that is where strategic patience comes in. If your initiative doesn't get approved today, how can you plant the seeds so that it will gain traction in the future? And here's how. Keep collecting the data. Gather data on performance, engagement, retention, all of that stuff so that you can build that business case. Build allies. Get leaders who are already invested or engaged and start leveraging them. Start getting them to talk about their wins and stay visible. Just because your idea didn't get approved the first time doesn't mean it won't get approved later. Sometimes leadership doesn't say no because they disagree. They say no because they don't see the urgency. And again, I'm going to use that word, yet. They don't see the urgency yet. So your job is to keep positioning learning and development as the solution until the time is right. And then you will get that yes. Part 3, and you know I like to get practical. So part 3 is a step-by-step way to handle difficult situations. We've talked about our reality, the challenges, the resistance. So now let's get into exactly how you can handle this when it does happen, because it will happen. Whether it's budget cuts, shifting priorities, leadership changes, we need to keep reminding ourselves that L&D leadership is not about delivering great training programs. It's about navigating the roadblocks that stand in our way of making it happen. And this is where many L&D professionals that I work with hit a wall. They get frustrated and keep pushing the same argument, hoping for a different result. Or they back down completely and let the initiative stall. Neither of these ways will work. So instead, we need a strategic approach. One that keeps you in control, protects and even builds your credibility, and ensures that even if you don't get a yes today, you are still moving the conversation forward. So here's how to do it. Step 1 is to get the full picture before reacting. The biggest mistake you can make is when you get resistance, you react too quickly. You get that email that the budget's been cut, or you get an email from the stakeholder saying this is not a priority at the moment. And the immediate thing you do is go into fight or lie down and give up. So before you do anything, you need clarity. Take a step back and ask, why is this happening? Is it really about budget, or is it about priorities? Is learning being deprioritized because of an immediate business crisis? And then ask, who's making this decision? Is it coming from the CEO, or is it a stakeholder's opinion? Is this the final decision, or is there room for discussion and compromise? And then ask, what's still possible? Does this mean the whole program is dead, or can we adjust the scope? Could we start small instead of going all in? So let's get into an example. Leadership says we can't fund this program right now. Instead of immediately pushing back, ask them, what's driving this decision? Is it pure budget, or are there other priorities at play right now? And this does two things for you. One, it prevents you from making assumptions. Maybe it's not about budget at all. Maybe it's just about timing. And two, it gives you insight into how to reposition your idea. And this leads us into step 2, which is reframe the conversation. Now that you understand what's really happening, it's time to shift the conversation. We often make the mistake of trying to fight for learning as a learning initiative that is so important, instead of positioning it as a solution to help with a business problem or achieve a business goal. So here's what not to say. But this training is important. If we don't do it, employees won't develop these skills. What to say instead? If we pause this program, we'll likely see increased turnover in the next 6 months. Should we discuss lower cost retention strategies in the meantime? See the difference? You're not just advocating for learning. You're showing the business consequences of inaction and offering a solution. Here are some other ways to reframe challenges. If a stakeholder says, now's not the right time, respond with, got it. What would need to change for this to be a priority in the next quarter? If leadership says, we need to cut costs, say, I understand. Can we look at lower cost ways to achieve the same goal, like leveraging internal expertise or piloting with a smaller group first? Reframing turns a hard no into an open conversation. All right, time for step 3, which is to find an alternative path forward. Now that you've reframed the conversation, the goal is not to push the original idea forward. It's to keep moving forward, even if you have to pivot. Here's how to think about it. If they won't approve the full program, can you pilot with one department or one team first? If they say now's not the right time, could you do a check-in in the next 60 days to revisit? And if they say there's no budget, could you leverage internal tools or people instead of buying new ones or going externally? In every case, you're looking for that next best step instead of letting the initiative die. For example, a client of mine once told me, we love the program, but we just don't have the budget to invest in an external person right now. Old me might have pushed, trying to convince them why an external facilitator was worth it. But instead, I pivoted. I said, right, I get it. What if we built a train the trainer model instead, so that internal people could facilitate the program? And that small step kept the initiative alive. And not only did it keep the initiative alive, but over the long run, we trained up many internal leaders to become facilitators, and it became something that people wanted. It was a privilege to come on that train the trainer and then be a trainer for their field of expertise. Okay, Step 4 is to secure future commitment. Even if you don't get the full yes today, you've got to set yourself up for future success. So get a concrete next step. Instead of leaving the conversation sort of open-ended, secure a next step. And this could be like, let's touch base again in 30 days after we've reviewed the retention data. Or I'll put together a pilot proposal and we can review that next week. And then document those agreements. So just follow up with a casual email to say, hey, thank you so much. I look forward to meeting you next week to review the proposal. And then stay visible. Just because you got a no today doesn't mean you won't get a yes in the next 6 months. So keep L&D top of mind regularly. You can share regular data or success stories and any industry insights that show why development matters. All right, let's wrap this up and talk about why this work matters. We've spent this entire series deep diving into why leadership matters in learning and development. Without authority, without a team, without a budget, and yet despite these challenges, our impact is undeniable. We are not just trainers and we are not just content creators. We are the leaders of capability. And without capability, people will not do well. They will not perform. If they're not performing, businesses will suffer and success will absolutely not be sustainable. That is the impact you have. You enable transformations. You are the quiet person shaping culture. You shift behaviors and you strengthen organizations from the inside out by having an impact on every single person that works there. Simply put, your work changes lives. But none of that happens if you stay in the background. None of that happens if you're waiting for permission. And that is why leadership in learning and development is not optional. It is absolutely essential. So, what's your next move? Because here's the thing. Developing others starts with developing yourself, prioritizing yourself and your skills and your career and your happiness and your success. And if you want to drive real business change, you need to be that strategic leader and not that support function order taker. And if you want to move past the struggle of getting buy-in and towards shaping the future of learning within your organization, you need to invest in your own growth first. And that is exactly what we do in the Talent Development Academy. And I would love to take the next few seconds to tell you all about it, because this is the space you want to be in when you are ready to lead within this beautiful field of talent development. It is not another course. It is designed for people who are done with playing small. A place where you get the frameworks, the coaching, and the real life examples to support you in your career. So you can step up, take the lead, and prove your impact in ways that you get noticed. Because when you develop yourself, the entire organization benefits. So when you are ready, you know where to find me. I want to leave you with a final thought about the power of influence. We have covered a lot in this series, and it all comes back to influence. And no one captured the essence of this better than Dale Carnegie in his book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. If you have not read that yet, I highly recommend it. It's one of those that I've read multiple times. He taught us that influence is not about authority, not at all. It's about understanding people, meeting them where they are, and inspiring them to take action. Think about the key principles from his work. The first one is the only way to get the best outcome from an argument is to avoid it. In L&D, we don't win by fighting for training. We win by framing learning in a way that resonates with business leaders. Another key principle of his is to talk in terms of the other person's interests. And the best way to get buy-in for L&D isn't to push our agenda. It's by showing how learning directly impacts the people and the business success. The third key principle I want to cover is to give honest and sincere appreciation. And this is all about building strong cross-functional relationships. Isn't about demanding support. It's about making stakeholders feel valued and included in the process. And the fourth key principle is arouse in the other person an eager want. People do not engage with learning because they have to. They engage because they want to. And our job is to make learning so relevant, so impactful that people are banging down our doors to attend our learning. So, do you see the pattern? This entire series, including all the strategies we've discussed, it's about people leadership, trust, and influence. And that is why L&D is so much more than delivering training. It's about shaping conversations, creating momentum. It's about building movements within organizations. And it's about changing how people think, work, and grow. And that's the kind of leadership that we need more of in this field. So as soon as you're ready to step into that level of influence, the Talent Development Academy is here for you. We would love to see you inside. And as always, make one commitment to yourself this week. What are you going to take from watching this video or listening to this podcast? What are you going to do to increase your influence? Leadership is not about waiting for the right opportunity. It's about making the right opportunity happen. And I know you are more than ready for that. See you in the next one.